Good evening and welcome to the September 2014 edition of Curriculum Connection. I'm Medford's Curriculum Director, Laura Lundy. Tonight we will focus on the start of a new journey for the Medford Middle School, a leap from the traditional into the technological. An idea, a ton of research, and a solid plan of action. This is how the Medford District is working its way into the age of personal computers for all of its students. The Medford Middle School is the first school in the district to receive multiple classroom sets of computers for its students to use during the day. Middle School Principal Al Leonard explains.
So we started looking, and we're looking for the right tool, and the tool we landed on was Chromebooks. They're an individual device that you can access shared accounts, and what that means is multiple kids can use the same device but only have access to their information. They're also a great tool to access the internet, and the way things are going with the world and in education, internet-based resources are the way to go. And so we found out that this is probably the best choice.
A plan isn't complete without its details. One detail that needed to be worked out was how to store an entire classroom set of Chromebooks safely and efficiently.
Last year, Mr. Hinderleiter and I decided we should try and figure out what the best way to store these in classrooms was. And we began to tinker around with different designs, and we built some prototypes and we tried them out and we made some changes. You know, it's the engineering process is what it is. You try it, you figure out what's right, you figure out what's wrong, you make your changes, you build your next generation model, and you do it over again. And right now we're this far in terms of building these cases, and what these do then is they keep them in a nice stored manner in classrooms.
Before the Chromebooks could be rolled out to the classrooms, multiple hours were spent on unboxing, untwisting, and rewrapping. Middle school media specialist Christy Wers explains.
The first thing is when they arrived, there were students that came in to unpack them. I was not here to witness that, but that's usually a lot of work because everything has a plastic coating and a lot of twisty ties. The big part has been the physical division and getting the cases ready, a lot of cords, and getting them to fit.
To get the cords to fit inside the cases, almost 550 cords had to be wrapped. In order to expedite the process, Medford District's tech engineer Dennis Hinderleiter's son George invented an ingenious cord wrapper. Staff training is a huge piece of the detail puzzle. This year, middle school staff have specific goals and technology competencies that each member must be able to demonstrate by June 2015. In order to train and prepare the entire staff, a team of middle school teachers volunteered to take the lead. Members of this team, like middle school teacher Jenny Shipman, had extra training this summer.
We spent 2 days in July preparing for just using the Chromebooks and all of the apps and extensions and things that might go with them. So we spent a day with Naomi Harms, who is a fabulous presenter. We learned a ton of things from her.
Staff training is going to become an essential part of making this thing work. As a matter of fact, it has to be that way. We will have certain expectations of teachers that they will have to use these in certain ways with kids in all classrooms. So the fact that we're using the same piece of equipment in each classroom will change the way we do things in terms of being able to teach teachers universal skills that they in turn teach to kids.
We did spend some time talking about how to best use Chromebooks as far as like even management in the classroom. So everyone's assigned a number. Students, we use one-way traffic. They come one way to pick them up so they're not running into each other. They always have to do a two-hand carry. So they have to carry with two hands at all times just to prevent dropping. And we learned a lot of that from Naomi, who's worked with them in other districts and just finding out where did they have the biggest breakage and damage problems, and we're just trying to head that off.
So to get that done, then we have a lead team of teachers. We call them our technology team. They'll be in charge, or they will help us to train other teachers. And that's how we'll deliver those skills to the teacher.
Media specialist Christy Wers says that having enough computers for all students has solved one of the biggest technology hurdles a school encounters: access.
You know, being old, and from the start, you know, you had one Apple II Plus. And it was a great day when you got one Apple IIe. And you always wanted kids to use it, but how do you manage sometimes 30? When my first job, I had 30 fifth graders, and how do you, there's 2 computers in the building. You just wanted, you always wanted to, and it was so hard. And people like Mrs. Dolazalek, I can remember her in that old building, hauling carts up and down that elevator, trying to give kids a chance to work on them. And that the day has come that everybody sits with one. It just amazes me.
Every journey starts with a single step. This year's technological journey has begun with the middle school, but plans are to continue with the high school next year and the elementary schools the following year. And as any good organization does, lessons will be learned from this initial implementation that will be helpful as the technology moves throughout the district into the other buildings.
From as basic as what kind of storage unit will we use, to what's the device of choice, to how do you train staff, to how do you get them out of the package. When you start talking about unpacking 550 of these and unwrapping the bubble wrap and putting them in cases and organizing them and getting them out to teachers and training staff, those things they seem like they shouldn't be that big a deal. It's a huge deal. The lessons that we learn, hopefully we'll translate to other schools, and therefore we can help them streamline their processes.
No plan comes without cost. At the present time, the middle school has purchased almost 550 Chromebooks, costing approximately $165,000. Other costs included storage boxes and training. Along with costs, there's also some small hurdles that had to be overcome.
We were having Chromebooks that weren't loading right away, and then we found out, that was last week until we found out, there was a sensor in the hallway that was out, and so now that we know where those sensors are, we're able to reset them should they need to be reset. Apparently that's just a beginning of the year glitch, and hopefully other groups can learn from that.
But overall, staff are extremely excited to get started and practice the skills they learned.
Changing some of my regular homework assignments and labs into like Google Forms or Google Docs, where the kids can just access that and do it right online rather than a paper pencil. And that's one of our goals, is to change our assessments up to be more interactive and online. Our biggest goal with the Chromebooks is engagement. Keeping the kids engaged and keeping them involved in their own learning, but allowing them to teach us a little bit about some of the technology that's available.
But for now, the excitement is evident as teachers and students are using the Chromebooks in their classrooms. For Curriculum Connection, I'm Laura Lundy.